We are coming to you live from our Auckland Park studios, and this is Prime News on SABC 3. Let's take a look at our leading stories this evening. The South African Police Service will send a team of investigators to France to assist with investigations surrounding the death of Ambassador Nathi Mthethwa.
The applicant's complaint is the manner in which the president has dealt with the revelations made by Lieutenant General Panas.
The Constitutional Court has dismissed the Umkhonto weSizwe Party and former President Jacob Zuma's urgent bid to overturn key decisions made by President Cyril Ramaphosa. And pro-Palestinian supporters in Cape Town and Johannesburg are demanding the release of all detainees who are part of the intercepted global Samud flotilla. We bring you a snapshot of our world in motion. Good evening and welcome to Prime News on SABC 3. My name is Beki Mutumomolete, your anchor for this evening. Let's take a look at your leading stories tonight. And here they are. The South African Police Service will send a team of investigators to France to assist with investigations surrounding the death of Nathi Mthethwa. The South African ambassador to France died on Tuesday after allegedly jumping from the 22nd floor of the Hyatt Regency Hotel in Paris. French authorities have been probing the circumstances around his death. Police Minister spokesperson Kamogelo Mogotsi says that the SAPS officers will be led by the Western Cape Deputy Commissioner of Crime Detection, Bongani Maqashalala.
I must indicate that the National Commissioner has already engaged with the French Embassy in South Africa. He's already engaged with his counterparts in France to inform them of our visit and the work that will be done by our investigators upon arrival. So tomorrow, on just before they leave on Saturday, we are expecting the team to meet with the National Commissioner. Upon arrival in France, they will then meet with the team that has been tasked with investigating the death of Mr. Nathi Mthethwa.
Pro-Palestinian supporters in Cape Town and Johannesburg are demanding the release of all detainees who were part of the intercepted flotilla carrying humanitarian aid to Gaza. The incident happened on Wednesday evening. In Cape Town, the supporters who are gathered outside Parliament are calling on the government to cut all ties with Israel.
Humanitarian activists have been abducted illegally in international waters. They've been taken to Israel. They're in those horrible compounds where they kill and rape Palestinians. And we want to ensure that they are safe. And we are appealing to the South African government to ensure their safety, for them to have consular services, for them to have legal service, and for the boats to be returned to them, for the essential medical aid and the food and the water to be provided, and other essential items to be provided to them so that they can break the siege on Gaza.
And so I think the concern throughout the country is about their safety, about them being released into to their lawyers, about them having access to consular services. So those are the concerns that South Africans are showing.
Meanwhile, Deputy Head of Mission at the Israeli Embassy in South Africa, Ariel Seidman, says that the activists are doing well, are being looked after, and will be deported to Europe.
It's very clear that this was not an aid flotilla. There's actually a video from the Israeli police boarding the flotilla looking for the aid, and there is no aid on these ships. Furthermore, other countries, Italy, Greece, even the Vatican, suggested that they would take the aid and distribute it, and the flotilla organizers did not agree to it. They rejected the offer. And when you go back a little bit, there's also evidence of Hamas being in contact with the organizers of this flotilla. So, as you mentioned, this flotilla is not an aid flotilla. It's not a humanitarian aid flotilla. It's more of a PR stunt, and as you mentioned, it's a stunt in order to raise awareness to a situation.
More on this, the late Nelson Mandela's family in Mthatha in the Eastern Cape insists on the immediate release of the South African nationals, including Nelson Mandela's grandson, Mandla Mandela.
The interception was conducted despite international protections for humanitarian relief missions. The family says Inkosi Zwelivelile Mandla Mandela had to join the humanitarian aid mission to save starving children of Palestine.
He felt that it was so important and incumbent on him to embark on this journey. And for us as a family, and for me as his wife, I'm so deeply proud of him. I remember when he received the call and asked him, would he join the flotilla? He had to sit down with us and ask us, are we ready for this? Are we okay? And he had to make this decision because he couldn't sleep at night any longer.
A plea for other international communities to put more pressure on the release of their detainees has been made.
You cannot say that these babies called for that. They were just born. These are newborn babies. And as a mother, to watch those horrific scenes, to see that mothers have to pick up the parts of their children and they're just so dismembered and disfigured. You cannot call that justice.
South Africa has also called on Israel to ensure that the humanitarian cargo carried by the flotilla reaches its intended recipients in Gaza without delay. Kululeko Nyembezi, SABC News, Mthatha.
Welcome back. The Constitutional Court has found that the Umkhonto weSizwe Party and former President Jacob Zuma's bid to directly challenge the constitutionality of President Cyril Ramaphosa's three related decisions flowing from the leave of absence granted to Police Minister Senzo Mchunu is scant and devoid of evidence to sustain a claim of the court's exclusive jurisdiction.
The Constitutional Court has found that there is nothing that engages their exclusive jurisdiction in the MK Party and former President Jacob Zuma's bid to challenge President Cyril Ramaphosa's three related decisions to place the Police Minister Senzo Mchunu on a leave of absence, the appointment of Prof. Faraz Kachalia, and the establishment of the Madlanga Commission.
The broad approach taken by the applicants to the issue of exclusive jurisdiction without sufficient averments in the pleadings to make out a case is legally untenable.
The court has further emphasized that the distinction between exercising constitutional powers and failing to fulfill constitutional obligations is crucial.
The applicant's complaint is the manner in which the President has dealt with the revelations made by Lieutenant General Mkhwanazi. Thus, none of the impugned decisions constitute a failure by the President to fulfill his constitutional obligations.
The judgment of the Apex Court also highlights the importance of not treating the Constitutional Court as one of first and last instance on complex matters.
The importance of issues in a case do not without more constitute exceptional circumstances and justify this court being a court of first and last instance. The more important and complex the issue in a case, the more compelling the need for this court to be assisted by the views of another court.
Kani Mapanga, SABC News, Johannesburg.
Meanwhile, all security arrangements are in place to ensure the safety of participants at Parliament's ad hoc committee on national safety next week. The committee was established to look into allegations of criminal infiltration of the criminal justice system raised by the KZN Police Commissioner, Lieutenant General Nhlanhla Mkhwanazi. Mkhwanazi will be the first witness to appear before the MPs.
The parliamentary process to unearth the truth about alleged threats to the country's security is kicking up a notch. The main witness in the matter, Lieutenant General Mkhwanazi, will appear before the committee for the first time next week, Tuesday and Wednesday. Evidence will be led by a senior counsel appointed by Parliament.
In relation to the Mkhwanazi statement, General Mkhwanazi has had a near final draft with him since yesterday lunchtime, but there's been further interactions with him, including early this morning. So I think it has now been finalized, and I think we still fall within the 3-4 day period to make a statement available to the committee.
The committee's hearings are expected to take place in person at the parliamentary precinct unless a risk has been determined that would indicate otherwise. While security at Parliament is already present, added measures will be put in place.
We can be able to say safely we are ready to resume in terms of security arrangement with the ad hoc committee in terms of the venue itself, which is a Good Hope Chamber.
At its previous meeting, the committee had concluded to call 34 witnesses, which would include former ministers of police such as Bheki Cele and Senzo Mchunu. Zaleen Merrington, SABC News, Parliament.
Also making headlines, Acting Police Minister Feroz Kachalia says that he believes that the Madlanga Commission will assist the country's policing services to reform operations and function effectively. Speaking during the handover of police resources at the Tshwane SAPS Academy, west of Pretoria, Kachalia stated that policing faces many challenges and that the public concern about the levels of crime in the country and capabilities of police service are justified.
Crime fighting hasn't gone without challenges in the country, with what has been revealed lately in the Madlanga Commission. But as the country continues to battle pressing security challenges, police authorities have expressed confidence in the Commission's work to assist the organization reform.
The Madlanga Commission, I think it's going to assist us to reset policing in the country, and over time will help us improve policing.
A total of 12 security vehicles and 2 helicopters were handed over to enhance operational effectiveness within specialized units in the police organization.
This new fleet will play a critical role in responding to organized crime incidents such as cash in transit heists, hijackings, armed robberies, including many other serious and violent crime.
The manufacturing company says these resources will go a long way in enhancing the safety of police officers and strengthening their ability to fight crime.
Our crime-fighting foot soldiers need to be equipped, but they need to be safe themselves. They need to have sophisticated technology. I mean, which vehicle had a drone in the past? Kwala did not. Inyala did not. This is a marshal, as you say. A field marshal goes into the field and fight crime.
Officials further indicated that the resources will help SABC to continue to fulfill its mandate in serving and protecting the country's citizens. Mulemone Muto, SABC News, Pretoria.
In another development, both parents, regardless of gender, sex, color or circumstance, will now be entitled to equal parental leave that they can share amongst themselves, which amounts to 4 months and 10 days. This after the ConCourt unanimously confirmed constitutional invalidity against sanctions which deal with maternity and paternity leave under the Basic Conditions of Employment Act and the corresponding UIF legislation, as the court finds that the difference in the parental leave entitlement between birth mothers and fathers amounts to unfair and unconstitutional discrimination. This comes after the said sanctions were successfully challenged in the Gauteng High Court in Johannesburg. The applicants, Werner van Wyk and Ika van Wyk, turned to the High Court to challenge the legislation after Mr. van Wyk approached his employer with a request for paternity leave and was informed that he was only eligible for 10 days parental leave. The High Court found that the differentiation between fathers and mothers amounted to unfair discrimination, specifically regarding the duration of entitled leave, and that it did not serve a legitimate purpose.
This court finds that the discrimination caused by the impugned provisions is unfair and unconstitutional. The protection of birth mothers to the exclusion of other parents has the unfortunate consequence of perpetrating the assumption that women are and should be the primary caregivers of children. The father is marginalized and deprived of the opportunity to involve himself as a parent in the upbringing of the baby during the early stages of life. Parents are also deprived of the choice to structure their child nurturing responsibilities rather than being assigned caregiving and parental responsibilities based on their gender. The provisions are also discriminatory to adoptive parents and commissioning parents in surrogate arrangements. Of course, in respect of birth mothers, except that there are health considerations during which the mother has to be confined before birth and afterwards for recovery purposes. But it cannot be gainsaid that there is also a period for nurturing. In respect of other categories, there is an inadequate period set aside for the purposes of nurturing. The disparity and unequal treatment towards adoptive and commissioning parents not only marginalizes the role that commissioning and adoptive parents play in the early life of their child, but also reduces the recognition of their responsibilities as compared to biological parents.
Thank you for staying with us. The South African Broadcasting Corporation continues to make a net loss but has shown strength in good governance, accountability and transparency. The public broadcaster recorded a net loss of 253 million rands for this financial year compared to 198 million rands last year. The corporation has, however, secured a second consecutive unqualified audit this year, signifying that the Auditor General has found no material misstatements in the company's financial statements.
Despite tough economic conditions, the SABC remains a resilient and capable broadcaster. In the 2025 financial year, the SABC managed to contain its losses to 253 million, slightly higher than last year. Expenditure growth of 3% outpaced total revenue growth of 1.3%, putting pressure on our operating margins. However, there are key positives to take note. Radio revenues increased by 7%, TV license collections grew by 10%, and the SABC began commercializing its digital platform, the SABC Plus. The public commercial services arm of the SABC outperformed the market, generating profits. Importantly, the SABC maintained an unqualified audit opinion and strengthened its balance sheet. Looking ahead, our year-to-date results show improved cash flow and growing revenues, early signs that our turnaround strategy is gaining traction.
Let's step into the forecast and soak up the latest updates from our expert weather team. Coming up next.
Thank you very much and a very warm welcome to the Weather Desk. Time for us to look at those conditions over the country and start looking at what's happening for tonight. We're still expecting rainy conditions as we move towards that eastern parts of the country, especially over the Eastern Cape. We're expecting a 60% chance of showers and rain for tonight. Isolated over KwaZulu-Natal, stretching into Mpumalanga and Limpopo. It will be a cloudy day for tomorrow over the whole of the country. 30% chance of showers and rain expected as we move towards the mother city, stretching into the adjacent interior. A little bit of morning fog patches as we move towards Alexander Bay, stretching towards Ferndale. That interior of the Western Cape, stretching into the Eastern Cape, all the way into the escarpment of KwaZulu-Natal and also Mpumalanga and Limpopo. Remember, with those morning fog patches, it means that visibility will be reduced. We're also expecting some isolated showers and rain as we move toward the central parts of the country, stretching all the way into KwaZulu-Natal and also the escarpment of Limpopo and Mpumalanga for tomorrow. Looking a bit at some warnings for tomorrow, we're still expecting up to level 4 warning of some damaging winds as we move towards the coast over KwaZulu-Natal, becoming a level 2 as we move into that coastal areas over the Eastern Cape. Remember, with these warnings over the coast, it means that it will be difficult to navigate at sea. So let's be careful for those who are heading towards the waters. Moving into the interior, it is a level 2 warning of some damaging interior winds over parts of the Free State, stretching into the Northern Cape and that extreme northern parts of the Eastern Cape. Because of this damaging winds over the interior, we also have those runaway for fire conditions over parts of the Eastern Cape, the Western Cape, stretching up north over the Northern Cape and also parts of the Free State and the Northwest for tomorrow. So please, if you do see any sign of fire, do report to the local authorities. Now, overnight temperatures, it is going to be a cold night, especially as we move towards the southern parts of the Northern Cape over Sunderland. We're expecting a low of 2. 11 over Cape Town. 14 your average over Kimberley and Vryburg. Musina dropping down to 16. Richards Bay also expecting a low of 13. Looking at maximum temperatures for tomorrow, it will be a warm day moving to Musina and Palabra, while Palabra peaking at 24. Cool conditions over Johannesburg with a high of 22. Do remember, it will be a cloudy day over Gauteng for tomorrow. Rainy conditions over Bloemfontein for tomorrow, expecting a high of 28. Will be hot as moving to Kimberley, Vryburg, and also Appington, with Appington peaking at 34. Cool conditions over the mother city for tomorrow, we're expecting a high of 20. That's all the weather I have for you. Stay tuned.
The news may be over for tonight, but the impact lives on. We wish you an incredible weekend ahead, and until next time, from myself and the team, stay sharp and savvy. Good night.